Hi, Global Studies. Welcome to our advising YouTube channel. Today's topic is on everything that you will want to be aware of as a graduating senior, what you want to be thinking of in the couple quarters before you think you're ready to graduate, and definitely the things you want to do as you're getting ready to graduate to make sure that you can graduate on your planned schedule. So if you're a graduating senior, what now? These are going to be resources for seniors and anyone thinking of graduating in the next couple quarters. So overview and big ideas of today's presentation. So the quarters before, I'm going to invite you to think about doing a major and GE progress check to make sure you're on track and reach out immediately with questions. I'm also going to show you some things that might show up strangely in your major and GE progress check that ultimately are not a problem. They just may require a petition or some last little things to just get put together. You want to basically be looking to close any loops or missing links you see related to making sure to sign up for any last required courses that you need, making sure also that you are signing up for the correct number of units that you need. Sometimes that's the thing that slips through the crack. You want to think about if there's any final petitions processing you have to do. This could be for EAP courses that you want to apply towards major requirements, or UCSB courses that you want to apply towards those same major requirements. And if you are clearing something related to your foreign language that you haven't done yet, that's going to be something you're going to want to take a look at. If you have any missing transcripts from other colleges that you need to send, that would be something to be recognizing and be taking some steps on. Also, this helps you kind of notice if you're a double major or a minor, making sure you're counting up all of your total upper division courses to avoid too many crossovers. And then another concept we're going to go over is declaring candidacy versus signing up for or going to commencement. They are two different things. They're somewhat related, but they are two different processes and they have two different results. So we'll go over the difference between those two when you think about graduating. What's the difference? What's the process? What are the deadlines? When do you get your diploma? And then what do you do if you need to get some kind of proof of graduation before that diploma arrives, whether for a graduate school application or a job or any other reason. And then I'll have some other final recommendations for you just based on other things you'll want to think about outside of your major requirements. I'll show you a path to graduation checklist. And I'll give you the reminder that I recommend you do a final senior check with the College of Letters and Science advisors, just to see if there's anything else going on in your major and GE progress check not related to your global studies requirements that might need a second look. So we're going to start with how are your overall major requirements and overall degree requirements looking? So the first thing you're going to want to do about 1 to 2 quarters, and you can do this earlier too, but about 1 to 2 quarters before the quarter in which you're planning to graduate, you want to run your major and GE progress check. Why? Here's a couple of reasons. One of the first reasons is this gives you enough time to sign up for additional courses, right? Or if you're signed up for courses but you realize they're the wrong courses, they're not giving you credit in the ways that you need them to, this gives you time to make different plans, change your schedule, figure out what else you need to take in replacement of those initial courses before your actual desired last quarter. So you're going to want to keep in mind 180, or for some people 184, your major GE progress check will tell you for sure, is the minimum number of quarter units you need to take to be eligible to graduate. And out of those 180 or 184, 60 of them have to be from upper division courses. One of the most common things that I see preventing people from graduating on time is, or at least when they thought they were going to graduate, is being like 1 or 2 units off, especially with upper division courses. You don't want to find that out your last quarter when you're thinking you're going to be graduating and then realize you have to take 1 additional class or summer sessions courses. So if you can help that and make that plan to finish up actually in that quarter that you want to be done by, you want to know that early so that you can do what you need to do. As your major advisor, I will be running kind of an informal grad check for everyone who has declared candidacy for each quarter, but the timing of when that happens is that I run that check and I get the names of people planning to graduate after the deadline to declare candidacy, which we'll go over in a few more minutes. This way I catch everyone who's requested to graduate, or pretty much everyone who's requesting to graduate, but that also happens to be around the deadline to add new courses. So you will be hearing from me, and if I notice something's missing, long after you have the chance to do anything about it in that same quarter. Otherwise, there's no way for me to know that you're planning on graduating. For all I know, because your name wouldn't show up on that grad checklist, you're still planning on staying at least 1 additional quarter, maybe more. So you will get an email from me later in that quarter if I notice that you're missing something for global studies major requirements. But again, the timing of that will mean you'll be hearing from me long after it's possible to add new classes into your schedule for that same quarter. So you may end up having to spend additional time at UCSB. This is why you want to make sure you're doing your major check for yourself before we get to that point. So that brings me to my next point. Do I need to make an appointment with an advisor to do this basic degree check 1 to 2 quarters before I plan to graduate? Weirdly enough, the answer that I actually recommend is no. It's actually best if you do this on your own first and then clarify any questions that come up with an advisor. So many major advisors, global studies is one major, but if you're a double major or a minor in another major that has a lot of students in it, there just aren't enough appointment times available in a typical quarter to run a full degree check for every single graduating senior. So you will want to do this for yourself first. You can do this from any computer, any tablet, any phone, by logging into your Gold account. And then if you notice things that are seemingly weird or wrong or you don't understand, then come to us with targeted questions so that we can help you pinpoint what's going on. I'm also going to show you some specific things in the global studies major requirements and how they show up on that major and GE progress check that may be looking like it's incorrect, but really you're fine. It's just that there's some quirks to how they display. So I will talk you through some of those shortly. For major or minor course requirement questions, you'll talk to your department advisor. So if it's a global studies related thing, you'll come to me or whoever is the advisor that is in the global studies department at that point. If it's for a second major or a different minor in a different department, you'll go talk to that person. But if you are noticing you have GE issues or other really big whole degree requirements, I recommend that you will also want to talk to a College of Letters and Science advisor. Transfer Center advisors are also available. If you're a transfer student, those people would be able to help you out and with some transfer specific questions, especially if you're noticing you have a lot of GEs unfulfilled. That would be something to ask your Transfer Center advisor to help you investigate to see if something went wrong with how your transfer transcripts got absorbed into your major and GE progress check, or if you're missing your IGETC, things along those lines. You do not need a special appointment or special access to your records that only an advisor has. We do not have any more magical things to look up your degree progress than you do. For the most part, you can find the same things that we'll see by looking at your major and GE progress check on Gold, and you can do that 24/7, whenever you want, whenever it's convenient to you. I will show you a quick tutorial in case it's been a while since you've looked at that. So you get to your major and GE progress check through Gold. So when you log on to Gold, you're going to see progress, and then you're going to click on major and GE progress checks. You're going to click the use in progress courses option so that way anything you're currently enrolled in, anything that you have planned for a future quarter will also show up and be included in the way the major and GE progress check reads your progress. If you leave that unchecked, just know that if there's anything you're signed up for a future quarter, it won't show up. So it'll look like your units are quite a bit lower, and it'll look like you haven't fulfilled perhaps as many requirements as you thought you had, but just so that you know the difference between leaving that checked and unchecked. Then you will click run this progress check. Now do make sure it says global studies for right here. If you are a double major, it might default to whatever other major you have, or if you changed your major at some point, it might still be stuck on your old major. So just make sure it says global studies, but keep in mind you can also use this to run for any other major. So if you are a double major, you can run it for your second major too. And then the key areas that you're going to want to check as you look down this long document in kind of an ugly typewriter font, you want to open up basically anything that has a red X, but you for sure want to focus on checking your units completed and left to complete, especially upper division units. This is the big one for seniors, because if you are getting close to graduating and you have, in theory, one more quarter left in which you could take somewhere between 12, maybe 16, maybe as many as 20 upper division units, but you have 22 upper division units left that you need to complete, then that's something to notice so that you can make a plan for, okay, maybe I can't graduate in this one more quarter, but maybe by doing 2 smaller scheduled quarters, I'll be able to finish it up or whatever. And then that's where you can notice if there's other things that you think you got a passing grade on, but maybe you didn't, whatever. This is your chance to notice that and to account for anything that seems strange. GE completion, this is something you're going to want to also take a look for, especially if you're getting into those last couple quarters as a senior. If you are pretty sure you took something to fulfill those GEs and your progress check is saying you didn't, then that's where you're going to want to go all the way down to your all credit accepted and just see, are you seeing any disconnects? Did the class that you thought counted for one GE actually count for a different GE? You can kind of open that whole GE area and see where those different courses landed. One more thing I'll also say about the units that comes to mind is if it's not actually upper division units that you still need lots of, if it's lower division units, keep in mind you can technically do those through community college transfer work, especially if it's just a couple classes, as long as you have not already met that transfer unit cap of 105 quarter units. So let's say you actually have some GEs you need to finish and they don't need to be done with upper division units because you've already done enough major and upper division elective units, you're fine there. You could, in theory, complete those through transferable community college courses. So just kind of keep that in mind. All of this is just being aware of what you still need to complete. And then just check on major requirements areas. You might be surprised if you're looking at your global major requirements to notice that you thought you were done with something, but really you weren't. And I'll go into this more on to the next couple slides, you may think that you're done with something, but you're not seeing it show up in your major and requirements areas. But if you go all the way down to the all credit accepted area, you see those classes. It's just that they're not showing up right in the place you would have thought they would have. And this is something where it's good to reach out to an advisor and see if either those classes didn't actually count the way you thought they did, or more likely we just need to apply a petition to make them stick. So that's really, really common, particularly in the upper division, like if you did advanced language classes for the prep area that involves the second part of the language requirement, or if you took anything for EAP, study abroad courses, and never quite followed through on getting those petitions done, that would probably be why. Easily fixable in most cases, you just have to reach out to us and we'll get you started on what you need to do with that. Again, all credit accepted is kind of the good place to go looking if you thought you had something that fulfilled and then you see a red X for that area. All credit accepted lets you see everything you've taken, everything you've gotten credit for at UCSB, anything you've transferred over with another transcript that's already been absorbed into your degree. That lets you see everything at a glance and kind of see what might be sitting down there that hasn't been petitioned to go into your GE or major requirements. So just to kind of give you a little sense, it'll look like that. That's, for example, an image of the unit requirements. And this would be an image of what it looks like when you see a green check mark versus an in-progress clock with a little blue clock icon, meaning it's something that you're completing right now or with a planned future class. And then the red X's are something where currently something is not being met. Again, might be down in that all credit accepted section, but currently credit has not been found in your records, we can say, for that area. So we have the photo version on the right. If you're the type of person that likes to follow written directions, I'll go ahead and click these through. Pretty much the same stuff I said. And then this is where I do want to invite you, don't feel like you can't come talk to a major advisor about your major and GE progress check, but this is where it's really great if you notice something that seems odd or weird, or you weren't expecting it, or it's a surprise to you, read what it says there and then consult the major requirements and then come talk to us, right? Reach out to us and we'll see where the disconnect is happening. It's possible, like we said, that you just need to petition something, or it's possible that you still need to take something. We won't necessarily know until you call our attention to us, and then we will help you out. And then this is just something sort of extra. It's only going to be applicable for about another year or so, but I'll include it in today's presentation, and then into the future beyond 2021-2022 school year, this will not really be as much of an issue, but it might still come up. So one big thing to be aware of is that in the academic year starting 2019 to 2020, we did have two versions of the major requirements in play, and sometimes there was some confusion about who was on which version. The 2018 to 2019 and earlier requirements, so if you signed up for the major in 2018 and backwards, along with people who are in the transition year, then you should be seeing your global studies major requirements should only have, like it kind of shows over here in this little tiny screenshot, a preparation for the major and then two options for the upper division major. if you got signed up for the pre-global studies, the newer version of the major that eventually everyone in the future will be added to after our transition year, and well, transition 2 years is up, you will see something that requires you to do a pre-major along with the prep for the major, along with upper division major requirements. So sometimes the registrar makes mistakes and they put you on to the pre-major when they meant to put you on to the full major. If you're noticing that, just you can send me a change of major form with global studies in your catalog year 2018 to 2019 as your new major choice. Again, that's only for people who were never supposed to be on the pre-major. If you were a freshman in fall 2019, a freshman in fall 2020, or anything beyond that, you should be automatically onto the pre-major. That would be the group that needs that. And then it kind of ages up every year beyond that. So again, that's a really good thing if you're not sure to reach out to us and clarify if you are on the wrong version of the major requirements. So you checked your major requirements, you checked your major and GE progress check, and you noticed something that looked wrong. What's the next step? So if you need help reading the degree requirements or just to clarify something, reach out to an advisor. But I would recommend, just so that it's a little more efficient and quick for you, you want to reach out to the right type of advisor for the problem that you're looking at. So if you're noticing a problem related to your global studies requirements, then you want to contact the global studies undergrad advisor. If you click here, I know that the link is not clickable in the YouTube video, but as always with our videos, if you look way down here into the description box, we will have a clickable link to these original slides, and then you can navigate to slide number 5 to be able to click this link. I know there are a few other clickable links throughout the presentation too you may find useful, so that is how you get to that. Otherwise, you can just go to the Global Studies Department website and then locate the undergraduate page, and then you'll find the contact information there. So contact a global advisor if you have a global issue, something related to your global studies major requirements. Same thing if you have a second major or a minor, you would contact that person. I will say I'm going to show you a couple big quirks about our major requirements before you get concerned. So this might be things that you're noticing and you think you might have a question about. I will address some of the most frequent weird things that show up in our major and GE progress check for global, especially upper division requirements in the next slide. So definitely hang out in this presentation for a few more minutes. You can see if your question gets answered there and kind of what to do about it. But if you are truly noticing something that seems really, really confusing or off, absolutely reach out. We can figure out what's going on. And it may or may not require you taking extra classes. We'll see what's going on together. Now, if it's a GE question, a question about a GE requirement that you thought you got something fulfilled but it really didn't, or other big whole degree questions, I do recommend going straight to the College of Letters and Science advisors first, or the Transfer Center if you're a transfer student. Just because they're a little bit better equipped to see your whole degree, not just focus in on your major requirements. So they can help you see if you are coming up short on some GEs. They might help you identify the most sort of efficient plan for the next quarter for what to sign up for, maybe some GEs that overlap with each other so that you can get credit for both areas at the same time. I, as the global studies person, am just not as equipped to know kind of all the quirks with the GEs and what counts for what. So I would recommend going to them if you have GE issues or other big whole degree questions. You can touch base with me too as the global person, but I will oftentimes say, oh, it's actually really great if you go talk to them in the College of Letters and Science, just because they have a different skill set and different things they look at all day. So they would be able to get you answers a little bit quicker than I can. Now, if you're realizing that something seems missing and you're thinking, oh, that's right, I was on a UC EAP program or another study abroad program, or I took some kind of UCSB course that was like approved at the time to be sort of a substitute, but was not officially on the major sheet as a replacement of regular major course options, that's fine. You just want to make sure that you call that out if you haven't already done so, to get a petition going for that class to count towards the requirement you wanted it to count for. Now it looks like I forgot to link in to see this page, but basically there will be a section of the undergraduate page of the Global Studies Department website. I will add that link to these slides so that you can click into them from the description box. That's going to guide you through the process of how to apply for that petition, how to get me your information so that I can plug that in. You don't necessarily have to directly, come into the office or contact me about it. You will just leave some information as I list on that page, and then we should be able to get you sorted. But yeah, click into eventually the link that will be on this page for information about how to petition classes that you meant to do at one point but you never got around to. Now, one thing I will say, if you think you already did this, if you already petitioned in a prior quarter, you very probably did. It's just that the final approval from the College of Letters and Science hasn't been processed yet. That can take a long time. Sometimes it happens quite quickly after we in the Global Studies Office apply for the petition. Sometimes it takes even multiple months. It kind of just depends how busy the rest of the advising offices are. Now, if it has been several quarters, I know for some people in the past, it's even been as long as a full academic year of a wait. That's where you definitely want to reach out to check. You can reach out to me as the Global Studies Advisor, and we'll see if we can figure out what's up with the timing. If it's only been a couple of weeks, if it's even just still within the same general quarter that you first asked for that petition to be applied, what's probably happening is it's been started, it just hasn't been approved yet. So you can go ahead and keep going on the assumption that will be approved. It just won't show up in your major and GE progress check until you get that final email saying it's been approved. Now, if you got that email saying it's been approved and it's still not showing up in your major and GE progress check, at that point, it's probably a computer glitch. So contact me and we can figure out how to get that sorted. Sometimes that happens. Now, if you're having issues where you're noticing your foreign language requirement has not been met, this is especially true for international students. There is a video, we have another video on our YouTube channel that walks you all the way through the full foreign language requirement. If you're not sure if you've met it, I do recommend carving out some time to watch at least parts of it. You can skip the parts where you know what's going on and focus on the parts where you don't know what's going on or where the information is new to you. The link right here gets you directly to the section of what to do if you're trying to clear your foreign language requirement using a language you already speak or that you grew up speaking. So that's going to give you some information on how to start that process. The really big thing to keep in mind with what's going to be in this information is that you do not want to wait until late into your last quarter at UCSB to deal with this, because it always involves talking to other departments and other offices. And if the instructors and sort of language coordinators and other offices are not given enough time to deal with your request, it very likely could happen where they can't process your request in time for the graduation quarter that you're planning. So in a lot of cases, students have to wait until the next quarter, right? You don't want to have to rush somebody through a process that is trying to help you. So you want to make sure you're giving lots and lots of time so that that can all get processed. And then if I, as the Global Studies Advisor, need to apply a final petition, it can take time for them to contact me and then for me to file the petition. So it takes a lot of time. Do not wait until your very last quarter to take care of this. If it is your last quarter and you're realizing you haven't taken care of this yet, do it as soon as possible so that we can increase the chances that you can actually finish up on time. Now, I did promise you I was going to show you a couple of weird things that you might see in the global major requirements. Here they are. So first of all, there's two different ways that your upper division courses in areas 2 and 3 can be read and accounted for. Keep in mind that it can be split up 2 different ways. There's a total of 6 classes minimum in that area. Now the computer starts by showing you both possible options, and when you're looking at your major and GE progress check, it's a good idea to open both options and kind of compare to see like how they're showing up differently. As long as you fulfill one of those options, you're fine, you're completing the major requirements, but you don't need to do it both ways. You just are been given 2 choices for how to do it. But eventually, as time goes on and the computer senses you're closer to fulfilling one of those versions of the major requirements or the 2-way split, eventually the major and GE progress check will only show you the one it thinks that you're closest to fulfilling. But sometimes that may not be the full picture, right? Maybe you are double majoring or you're minoring and it actually makes sense to kind of show you the alternate way, but the computer doesn't know that. The computer is sometimes kind of dumb and only picks up the really obvious stuff. And then sometimes it just makes mistakes. I find that it seems to make more mistakes if we petition things from EAP courses. For some reason, it kind of gets a little confused whenever we bring in things from other school systems. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with you and your degree progress. It just means that the computer won't always show you neatly and cleanly how you are fulfilling the global major requirements. Just keep in mind you can do it both ways. So what are those 2 ways? Just as a reminder, you can do 4 courses in area 2, 2 courses in area 3, a chosen region, or 3 courses in area 2 and 3 courses in area 3 for sort of an even 3-3 split. Notice in both of these, you've got 6 classes, right? 4 plus 2 up here, or 3 plus 3 over here. We add that to those 3 core classes, Global 110, 120, and 130. That gives you your typical 36 units that you need to fulfill to meet the basic major upper division requirements. The other 2 rules, at least 2 of the courses from your area 2 have to come from area 2A, so Global Studies upper division electives. And your area 3 courses have to all be from the same region. So if you've got classes from multiple regions, they won't all show up in that area. It's only going to show you the classes for the region that it thinks that you're following up on. So some weird things as a result of that. These don't necessarily mean something's wrong or that you have to take extra courses necessarily. There just might be some extra petitions or some extra computer untangling that will have to happen as we check for things during your final quarter. Going back to an earlier slide, this is why I do those final grad checks, just to see if there's any last petitions that we need to get going to make sure that everything's in the right place by the time you are coming to the end of your last quarter. So we will catch it at some point. Just know that if you want to be proactive and you're worried about it and you're not sure, these will be some things to think about. So some courses, this would be an example of a thing I see, not a lot, but enough for it to be a frequently asked question. Some courses can count for either area 2 or area 3, just because over time they've kind of worked both ways. I see this a lot with Global 148 and Complet 171, and then there's a few other ones, but those are the 2 that first come to my mind. Those classes can count for either area 2 or area 3, and the computer will tend to stick it wherever it wants. Sometimes it makes a choice that makes sense with your plans, and sometimes it doesn't. So if you see it counting on that major sheet in a particular area, and you would prefer that it ends up in a different part than it's currently sitting in, request that we file a petition to fix it. It's an easy thing to do. We just need to know that that's what you want to have happen. If it can be honored in both different areas 2 and 3, then we're fine. We can do it. Here we go. Here's the link to the section on filing petitions. You'll find some information there about how to get the petitions process started for Global Studies major requirements. So that's an easily fixable issue. Just notice it may throw you off at first. Also, another thing that sometimes throws people off is if you started taking Area 3 Region Club courses in one region, the computer will always start with whatever region you started at in time, right, in your time of progress through your different quarters UCSB. And then the computer will assume that it is permanently your region of choice for area 3, even if you changed your mind at some point, even if you started taking enough classes to fulfill a different region for area 3. Again, this is where you want to open up that all credit accepted section, notice and count up all the different courses that you were planning on using for a different region, and then we can file a petition to fix it. It's not a big deal. You just got to call it to our attention. Also, upper division language courses are often not pre-programmed to be recognized for the language requirement. If you're on the 2018 requirements, that would be prep area 5. If you're on the 2019 and later requirements, that would be prep area 3. Now, as long as they were taught 100% in the language that you were trying to take them in, that's fine. They just need a petition. I notice this most commonly currently with like French 101 ABC, French 100 ABC, German 100 ABC, and some of the upper division Spanish and Chinese courses. Just for whatever reason, they might be newer courses that we have not been programmed to pick up yet. But a lot of them will automatically pick up, a lot of them won't. So just kind of be on the lookout for that. If you are quite certain that you took enough classes in that area, 12 units or 3 classes for the upper division or advanced language option, they're probably there. They're probably just sitting down in all credit accepted, and you just want to call our attention to it so we can apply a petition. Pretty simple. Now, the big thing to keep in mind, most of these issues that you see here are either true computer glitches or they're just solvable with a simple petition. But looking at all credit accepted down at the bottom of that major GE progress check helps you kind of notice what's the problem and sort of then what's the solution, what needs to happen. And then if it's a petition, you will check in with us using the information posted on the petition section of this page. All right, so a big question that comes up a lot, especially if you're used to thinking in kind of like a high school mode, the difference between declaring candidacy versus signing up for or going to commencement. So what's the difference? What are each of these terms? When do they happen? What are the deadlines? What's the process? We're going to start with declaring candidacy. This is a term you will hear a lot as you start getting ready to cross over into senior year. Declaring candidacy is pretty much just a fancy way of saying you're signaling to UCSB that you are ready to get your final degree and diploma. So when we say you're ready to graduate college from UCSB in this case, you are declaring candidacy. That's the term you're going to start using. Basically, you're saying, hey, I'm a candidate for graduation. Please get my things ready. Now, when does it happen? This happens in the quarter in which you finish all degree requirements, and you have to actually signal to UCSB, hey, I'm declaring candidacy. It does not happen automatically. Like I said, not like high school where everyone gets to senior year, and as long as you pass your classes, they assume you're leaving at the end of senior year, unless you're a super senior. So it doesn't happen automatically. What UCSB thinks is everyone's working on their own schedule towards graduation, and you will tell UCSB when you're ready. They're not going to bug you and say, hey, you're a fourth year, it's spring quarter, you're ready to graduate, right? They're going to let you signal that that has happened, that you've been checking your requirements, that you've finished your requirements. So how to make this happen, how to actually do this signaling to UCSB that you are ready to declare candidacy on Gold. You can do this on, on your Gold account. You click progress and then you choose graduation and commencement. There's going to be a lot of information on that page. You will want to read it thoroughly, but the big thing you want to make sure you do is select your chosen quarter and for degree candidacy, and then click the button. I think it's blue. Now you want to make sure to pick a quarter from the drop-down menu that accurately reflects when you'll actually be able to graduate. That's where you're, again, looking back at your major and GE progress check, and you're making sure to not pick a quarter that it's very unrealistic for you to graduate by. You want to pick the quarter where your units are going to be done and all of your major requirements are going to be done, all of your GEs, all of your everything. So if you have a quarter like in the future where you're thinking, okay, well, I still need to finish up my language requirement and my plan is to go take classes at a CC and then transfer them back, you do not want to declare candidacy for the quarter that you're leaving UCSB. You want to actually plan to be ready to declare for the quarter that you know you're going to be done with those extra courses, because you need to have them sent back to UCSB, and that's when UCSB will be ready to start putting your stuff together. So the deadline to do this, you declare candidacy for whichever quarter in which you would like to graduate, is the Monday of third week of that same quarter, typically before the Monday of third week of that same quarter. Gold will have the specific deadlines for each quarter though. Also keep in mind, you can't declare candidacy like 10 quarters in advance. You got to do it pretty much quarter or two in advance. I think the one exception is when we start getting into about January or February of every academic year, and then they give you options for declaring for winter or spring or summer or fall, and you'll see why in a second. Now, if you missed that deadline, it's on you. You got to email directly to the registrar's office this specific email address, graduationmatters@, I'll wait for my little bar to disappear, maybe, at sa.ucsb.edu to see if you can be added to the list late. Now, people do this. It's not like it's a very unusual thing to do, but it does mean that you have one more thing where you have to email a person on time and hope that they see your email and then do what they need to do. It's so much better just to go ahead and do it on Gold. The other thing I will say about declaring candidacy is, if you're thinking, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm going to pass all my classes this quarter, I am feeling a little certain I might need one more quarter, there doesn't hurt you to actually go ahead and just declare and then undeclare. So if you realize, oh wait, it's week 5 and 6 and 7 and I'm really not doing well in this one class, I think I'm going to have to repeat it later, that's okay. You can do that. It's much, much, much easier to undeclare candidacy, to go back to that same button on Gold and undeclare and then change for a different quarter if you realize you need more time to finish. But it can be really tricky to declare past the deadline because you are relying on whoever checks this email to find your email in like hundreds of other emails asking for getting added to the graduation list late. So just kind of keep that in mind. Always go ahead and declare if you think you're reasonably going to be ready that quarter. And then if you realize you're not, you can go back and change it. There's no penalty for doing that. Commencement, on the other hand, so especially as we get closer into early to mid-winter quarter, people start getting very excited about commencement. Here's what commencement is. Commencement is actually just the party or ceremony that celebrates our graduates. So yay, it's a really festive occasion. It is usually multiple ceremonies that take place over the course of a weekend, and the different ceremonies are divided by major type and divided by, in some cases, like cultural groups put on different ceremonies for their people. It kind of just depends. There is a full website that you can get to. It's usually commencement.ucsb.edu that will start posting details about that year's commencement so that you can start making travel arrangements and getting tickets for family if you have family that want to come, things like that. But ultimately, it is totally optional to participate in the commencement ceremony. So this is where we usually say that you have the choice to walk at commencement or ceremony or ceremonies, right? Like I said, there's sometimes multiple ones that might apply to you. This has no connection to getting your degree or your diploma or actually graduating. There are people who go to commencement and who walk at commencement that still have work to do. They might still have another quarter or two before they are fully finished up and eligible to graduate. Now, the system on Gold typically won't let you sign up for commencement until you are eligible to graduate, basically based on this mathematical calculation, right? 152 units you have to have done by the time you're reserving your slot for commencement, because that then assumes that you will be able to finish up essentially about a little bit under 30 units over the next 2 quarters. So you can't, like as a freshman or a sophomore or as a junior who's not anywhere close to graduating, you can't sneakily sign up to RSVP for commencement. So not that anyone would want to do that if they're not actually eligible to go to commencement, but you know, I guess it's there. So what's the process? Again, when does it happen? We'll start with that. Commencement happens only once a year, even though declaring candidacy happens every single quarter. It happens on your schedule for finishing your major and degree requirements. Commencement only happens once a year. So there's one big commencement ceremony after spring finals for all graduates of that year. Typically, people are eligible for commencement even from graduating from that prior winter and spring, and even the following summer, and sometimes even fall, right? If you're very close and we'll be just finishing up a couple classes in fall, not at all going into the following winter. In most cases, as long as you met this by the time you were signing up for commencement, you can also register for commencement even if you're planning on finishing fully by the fall, believe it or not. Reservations are required for commencement. They do open on Gold. You're going to go same place that you went for declaring candidacy, progress, then click graduation and commencement. You will start getting some emails about this, but just generally kind of put it in your brain that they start opening the commencement reservation system sometime in early February, and then you usually have to finish and finalize that reservation sometime in March. So be watching that space kind of around February and start noticing what deadlines exist there, and then make sure that you sign up on time. Late reservations cannot typically be accommodated. So if you miss it, then you miss it. So make sure you don't miss it. So that would be our difference between declaring candidacy and commencement. Now, one other thing I do tend to get a lot of emails about, especially in fall and winter, besides the commencement being totally optional, there's another thing that's totally optional that starts to pop up sometimes. You might get some emails about a senior photo or a senior book. So these are not actually, believe it or not, connected to your academic progress. They're a totally separate thing that you can choose to do. Usually the understanding is it's a company that contracts with UCSB to do, you know, this optional senior photo thing where you would get an email saying, here's your reminder that it's time to book your senior photo appointment. That has nothing to do, like I said, with your major requirements or with your graduation units. It's just they get a list of people who are probably eligible to be seniors, and then they reach out directly to those people to give them the opportunity to take a photo. We as advisors don't really get any information about that, so do not ask us. If your friend gets the email but you don't, and you know that you're both graduating seniors, what you're actually going to want to do in that case is have your friend forward you the email so you can get the person's name who sent the email, contact them directly. Major advisors, college advisors have no idea how all that works. So kind of just keep that in mind. So where's my diploma is a big question we also get. And this kind of is a surprise for some people, especially again, like we're thinking back to high school, you're used to getting your high school diploma very shortly after graduation ceremonies. It's a little different at UCSB. So you declare candidacy, like we discussed, for a specific quarter, and then for about the 3 to 4 months after that quarter, UCSB's registrar is working to process all of those candidacy requests for that previous quarter. So for example, let's say you declare candidacy for spring, UCSB is actually working on finalizing everything all the way through summer, and your diploma will start to become ready to be sent to you closer to September or even October. But you're still considered a spring graduate of that year, even though there's that 3 to 4 month delay before you actually see a diploma show up in your mailbox. That's another thing I want to show you really quickly. When you are on, excuse me, when you're on the page to declare candidacy, you're going to want to scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a place to indicate what your mailing address is. Knowing that it's about 3 to 4 months out, you want to think, what's a good physical address for me to get sent my diploma, so that way it doesn't get lost and it makes its way to wherever it makes sense, whether that's an apartment you're going to be staying in, whether that's family that would be able to grab it for you if you're not sure where you're going to be living 3 to 4 months after graduation. So why is that big delay? A lot of people are always kind of upset or curious to hear about that. So that delay is actually a good thing. It lets UCSB take its time in accepting any remaining things that you might need to complete your degree, especially if you had transcripts coming from other schools. Maybe you did some last minute transfer work at SEC and you needed to have that sent, and it came about the same time that you were finishing up finals, right? That would be one example. Also, just here at UCSB, if you had to take any incompletes on your final grades for that same quarter you declared candidacy, or if you're just finishing something a couple days late for a specific instructor with their permission, or there's sometimes other grading delays that come up, right? There's all kinds of things that might cause another week or two to pass before grades are finally due. Obviously, the 2020 academic year, we saw both a TA graduate student strike and a global pandemic kind of derail plans to get grades turned in on time. So this kind of allows UCSB to have time to put together anything that still is coming to finalize your degree. Now, one quick thing I'll say, because this does apply to a lot of global studies students, is if you were a UCEAP student, if you were studying abroad and you made the plan to graduate from abroad, this is actually why it's often suggested, just to be safe, that you actually formally declare candidacy for the quarter after you complete all of your UCEAP coursework. So let's say you were on a spring semester program, it's actually better in a lot of cases to declare for summer, because that gives UCSB quite a bit of extra time to wait for your abroad school to send your stuff to UCSB, and then they have time to knit it all together into your final coursework and your final degree candidacy. So it just gives a little bit of a buffer time so that you're not getting stuck on a list of people who said they were planning to graduate, but then we're missing something, and then there's a lot of like back and forth that has to happen to make sure that all of those records connect. So it's just nice to give that extra time for our study abroad students. Now, the big question that comes up a lot is, okay, what if I need some kind of proof of my graduation pretty immediately for a grad school application or for a job or for whatever other reason? So in that case, what you're going to want to think about doing is ordering a transcript or a verification. So a transcript is a full record of all of your courses and grades. That would be something that graduate school would probably want to see. Or a verification. Verification is just something that certifies when you attended or graduated UCSB. So in a lot of cases, that's what jobs want to see. They want to see if you said you were planning on graduating on a certain quarter or a certain timeline. This lets them check and verify that as part of your job application. You can do both of these things through Gold. Underneath the grades tab, you're going to see order a transcript, order a verification. You're also going to see the option to order official versions of both of these or unofficial versions of both of these. Now, whether you should get the official or the unofficial version is kind of up to whoever's asking for it. You will want to check with them to see if they have a preference. If you have time to send the official version, that's always better, but that does take a couple weeks for UCSB to act on that and send it, and then have it appear in the graduate school or the jobs, whoever's processing it. If they are willing just to see like a PDF copy of an unofficial version of a transcript to get you started while they're waiting on getting the official transcript, sometimes that's enough. Again, we won't know on our side of things. That's something you have to work out with graduate school or with whoever is looking to hire you. So other recommendations, these are just some other things I would recommend thinking about as you get ready to graduate. That is a question we get a lot. What else do I need to do if I'm planning to graduate? I just want to make sure I'm doing everything right so that I'm not missing anything. Honestly, the big three: checking your progress, major and progress check on gold, declaring candidacy by the correct deadline, and finishing all your courses and requirements by the last day of the finals of the quarter, for that quarter you've declared candidacy for. Those are the big ones. That's the big three. But here's this checklist that I believe College of Letters and Science has put together. It has a really nice list of other things you might not have thought of, as well as who to contact if you still have questions. Well, the registrar puts it together. So thanks, registrar. A lot of this is going to be the same stuff, right? Declare candidacy, complete all degree requirements. But there's also going to be some other things you might want to know about. There's a graduating senior survey. There's going to be some information about if something is kind of going wrong in your degree evaluation, if something comes up as missing, how they will contact you and what the timing is. Now, if you did what you needed to do up here, you probably will be fine and will not necessarily be getting anything like the scary email that comes where they tell you that things are not have been met. So just keep that in mind. But it's good to know that there is a process if the registrar notices something's missing. Commencement, they'll remind you about that. And they'll remind you how to get your diploma, what's the timing, and then they kind of have this nice list of who to contact if you have questions or if things go wrong, things like that, along with some good general links for everything you might want to know about as you're wrapping up your time at UCSB. So I always like to send that along. Also, I think it's just a nice idea if you've never been or if it's been a long time, it's a good idea to do final check-in with College of Letters and Science advisors if you're feeling uncertain about anything else related to your full degree progress, especially anything not related to global studies. If you're just seeing a red X that is in your major and GE progress check and you have no idea what it's all about and it's not related to global, they can kind of help you see if something weird is happening and if it's something fixable. Or if it's something that will require a longer plan. So you don't know until you ask, but those would be the advisors I would recommend checking in with if it's something beyond anything for global studies. Something else that happens to seniors a lot, I'm laughing because I used to teach high school seniors and we called it senioritis. If you're getting senioritis and you're tempted to drop a class your last quarter because you're not liking it, it's not doing it for you, maybe it's an elective class you're pretty sure you don't need for your major requirements, that's all fine and well, but before you make that class drop and then find you can't add back in if you realize you actually do need the class, definitely use your major and GE progress check it very thoroughly to make sure nothing will be disturbed in your units or your GEs or your major requirements. If you drop, sometimes people overplan and then they sign up for way too many classes their last quarter and then they realize they don't need them all. That's fine, right? But do not drop those classes until you have checked in with your major GE progress check to verify that that's the right choice for you, or if you should go ahead and tough it out and just make sure you do well enough in the class to get all the way through, get the units, get the passing grade. And then keep in mind, in most cases, a passing grade just needs to be a D- or higher, and it needs to maintain your overall 2.0 GPA. And in order to get the units, and if you're thinking pass, no pass, or letter grade options, make sure you're taking all of your major requirement courses or probably minor requirement courses too for a letter grade. Otherwise, as long as you haven't taken too many classes, pass, no pass, things like electives you can consider that pass, no pass option, as long as you are pretty sure you're going to get higher than the letter grade equivalent of a C, right? Because that's the threshold it drops to pass the class if you're going for the PNP option. So otherwise, congratulations, it's really exciting. Finish your final quarter strong. Reach out if you have questions early enough in the quarter so that we can get you what you need in time for final deadlines. It's always really rough if you wait until your last week or so when you're already in finals mindset, and then you try to get in touch with us and we realize there's something big that we could have fixed if we heard from you in week 2 or week 3, but now that it's week 8 or 9, not a lot we can do other than recommend you take another quarter or whatever. So just be planning things ahead so that you know that you can finish up strong. And then to recap, the big things that you will want to walk away with from today's presentation: use your major and GE progress check on goals to make sure you are on top of everything to graduate on your planned schedule. And I do recommend you start looking at this pretty seriously 1 to 2 quarters before you actually plan to graduate, so that you have enough quarters in which to fix things or make up units or do whatever you need to do to make sure you're meeting all those requirements. Reach out to an advisor or advisors if you notice anything seeming off. The reminders about who to contact to get the fastest and most efficient answer. Global studies major requirements means you for sure talk to the undergraduate advisor for global studies. We would be in the best position to help you out with that. Other degree requirements, G's, total units, other things marked with a red X that doesn't seem to apply to global studies in your major GE progress check. We recommend going directly to the College of Letters and Science advisors first, or transfer center advisors if you're a transfer student. Also, we'll say, you know, if it's a second major or a minor, go to that major, that department for their advisor to talk it over with them. And then definitely make sure you declare candidacy on gold by the deadline, usually by end of week 2, the quarter in which you intend to graduate. No, it's not like it's 100% impossible to get on the list to graduate if you miss that deadline, but it gets a lot more complicated. And sometimes you have to rely on somebody checking their email on time, and you may not get a confirmation from them for quite some time. So it's just better to go ahead and get on the list using the process on gold to make sure you're for sure on their list to be checked for progress towards that graduation date. And then finish strong, passing grades in all courses, please. Send over any transcripts from other schools you need to complete your degree. Don't wait until the end to ask questions if you have them. Thank you for watching. And please do reach out if you have watched this and you still have individual questions that you feel like we did not cover. We're happy to help you figure out what might be going wrong or what might be going right, either way.